Maciej Burno from Aptoide, Vice President of Business Development, who will talk about distributing content outside classic stores like Google Play and iOS. So please, Maciej, you can begin.
Thank you, Alex, and hello, everyone. Thanks for joining for the online session. Today, I will be talking about more about the distribution into alternative stores. What's out there? Like everybody knows, there's a Google Play, there's a iOS App Store, but if you're trying to distribute to more places outside those two stores, that's where what I'm doing here.
Maciej, please share your screen back. We don't see your slides at the moment.
All right, no problem. Give me a sec. And that should do it here. All right.
Great.
Everything is good?
Interruption. Yes, it's visible. Thank you.
All right, cool. So this is what we're talking about today. Just talking about the stores outside the Google Play and iOS and how to actually be successful out there. I believe a lot of you already been working with some of the stores, for example, Huawei, Samsung, Aptoide, maybe Amazon, but you didn't really manage to have success with them. And I hope my presentation will give you some pointers of some ideas how to actually not only going there successfully, but getting like the buck for your time. So initially, let's talk about myself a little bit before we start. So I would like to introduce myself as again, Maciej. I'm VP of Business Development for Aptoide, and Catapult is our distribution platform. It's a part of our company. And previously, I was head of partnerships at Samsung Galaxy Store, and before that, I was working as a mobile game publisher for Wanda Games. So it's I also know the pains that distributor and developers have when they're distributing the game. And I've been in the gaming industry for quite long. My first game is in 1989. I remember I bought a Nintendo and I had like 101 games, and the first game I played ever was Contra. My favorite game of all times is World of Warcraft. Haven't found something that I spend more time than in this game. So that's me. If you want to add me on LinkedIn, here's the information. Otherwise, you can just drop me a Skype or send me an email. Feel free if you have any follow-up questions. So let's talk about the mobile alternative stores. And before that, I would like to talk about market trends, like what is happening in the mobile industry right now. So it's growing, and it's growing exponentially. So when we are reaching around $8 to $9 billion a quarter in 2016, right now we are reaching around $35 billion per quarter. So you see this kind of trend accelerating. The market is expanding rapidly. That's mainly because, as you will see in the next slide, of the developing countries or developing markets. And this is something that, like usually Google Play and iOS not really that strong there yet. And this is where the alternative stores will take a place. So as you can see, revenues by region. And as you can see, well, China, of course, is currently the biggest market globally. It's almost twice as big as the United States by far. And most of you know there's no Google Play, for example, in China. There's a lot of different stores, but Google Play doesn't have a placement. And then you have a US, which is growing, but it's not growing that exponentially as some other markets. Then you have Japan, a bit stable, and then rest of the world, especially in the last year, just started growing rapidly. Rest of the world, think about India, Latin America, Africa, even Middle East, and Southeast Asia. Those are the markets that slowly will outgrow any type of the territory. And that actually, we can see the ad spending by region. I put those two graphs for reference next to each other, because as you can see, US, it's growing, but in terms of the ad spending, it's quite stable. That means the market's already very well established. It's not really growing that much. So there are a lot of players, established players, like most of the Western developers, they know how to grow this business. But then we are going to APEC, Southeast Asia, for example, East Asia, like Japan, Korea, so on and so forth. You will see that the spending in the past 2 years almost triple. That's one of the reasons, is because it's a new market for many companies, and whenever there's a gold rush, people overspend. They not really come up with the solution how to really well design their advertising, well marketed for the local market. Then we have Europe, which is very stable, and then LATAM, which expanding very quickly in terms of the size, but in terms of the entire global market, it's still not that big yet. It will grow. I believe Latin America, it's a matter of the next 2-3 years, we will expand and could even overcome European market. So this is something that we can look for. Then last year was a very big announcement. Apple App Store reduced the revenue shares to most developers to 15%, and Google Play follow the same suit this year. But actually, it's more like a PR stunt. So whenever you're working with the alternative stores, don't think too much in terms of the percentage, because some stores can give you 100% of zero revenue. Like you can actually be getting like 100%, but you're not gonna get earning any money. And some stores will say 50% of the in-app purchases, sure, but they will be like throwing a lot of free traffic your way. So this is the revenue share. Is not everything. It's what the traffic that the platforms provide matters. And for Google Play Store and Apple Store, that 15% decrease was actually less than 2% of their entire revenue. And to give you a perspective, 140 games, mobile games, generate over 100 million in 2019, and 1,100 over 5 million. Some of the games like PUBG Mobile, like Commaster, Pokemon, they each generate at least $1 billion. So if you think about the number, if you put it in the perspective, a little over 1K apps from 3.5 million apps on Google Play generated over 90% of the revenues. So of course that kind of is if you are indie developer or small publisher, that's tough, because you are competing to them. But then alternative store could be a way out for you to actually balance your distribution portfolio. More news before we start talking about the actually alternative stores is that it will become easier and easier. The market is growing, and Google Play cannot ignore it anymore. So with release of Android 12, you basically going to be make it easier for the stores to promote your content. You want the user will not get any message anymore that this app is illegal, this app is dangerous, stuff like that. Because think about it, if I go, for example, to Xiaomi store and download your game, which is 100% from you, directly from you, but user simply doesn't use Google Play, they use Xiaomi, for example, and then suddenly it tells me this game is dangerous, it might harm your phone. Most of the users, they're not tech savvy, they will be afraid, they will not even play it. It damages your flow of user acquisition. The conversion rates matter a lot to the advertisers, and this will be removed with the upcoming Android 12. We believe one of the reasons is because of the legal anti-laws against the Google when they're fighting with Epic Games, but it makes it easier for alternative stores to compete, to monopoly, basically. Then recently, Windows 11 announced that they will welcome the alternative stores to the platform. But the key here is that they will offer native support to Android apps, and it's a big change. If you are having a big game, you will notice that a lot of your whales customers who spend thousands of dollars in your game, they often use apps like BlueStack or Nuts. They're using emulators to play your game because it's convenient for them. or they have like multiple 10, 20 accounts to inside your mobile game. So those whales actually, it has a potential that they will migrate to native support, depending how well Windows 11 do it. And they will start with Amazon store. So from day one, you have access to 700,000 application for user to use. All right, so I'll just give you a little introduction about how's the market trending, and I would like to talk about alternative stores. I mean, why should you work with them? And well, I think the main reason is because it's simply too difficult to get visibility on the major platforms. This is nothing against big players. If you have, for example, Google Play, or you have iOS, or you have a Huawei store or anything, and when you get to the point that you have too many games or apps to promote, you don't have enough space. It's the issue about this design. You can, of course, you can do a very well target store that, okay, if you play RPG games, you will see 80% of the games on the platform which are RPGs, but the competition is too big. So 3.5 million apps on Google Play, almost 800,000 publishers as of last year. That's hard to compete. Third-party stores, well, they help you to reach the more niche market, more narrow market. For example, you can focus on a specific store that focus on strategy games. So maybe they don't have big DAUs, they don't have big MAUs, but have a specific user for specific title, specific region. You can work maybe with one store in Korea if you just want to focus on Korea market. So it helps you to narrow down the audience and put it a niche in the market. Whereas your distribution strategy for Google Play and iOS will be to reach a broad audience. So especially recently with the IDFA, when you really cannot target users anymore. Imagine you have a hardcore RPG game or hardcore strategy game. It's going to be tough for you to be buying users, because you can really tell Facebook anymore, oh, I'm looking somebody who plays similar games, or I'm looking somebody who playing strategy games. This is where alternative store can help. Like they can promote you on the homepage, and you will be getting the right users to your game, often free of charge. The second reason why should you work with alternative stores is basically it's a balanced strategy. Imagine you are an investor and you are investing in the stock market. You don't want to spend all your money into one stock. If that stocks go down, you are in big trouble. And usually investors don't work that way. They like to diversify their portfolio. They want to put their money into many different places, and it makes sense, because if, let's say, Google Play removes your game, or maybe there's something happening like IDFA, that suddenly you are not able to buy users to the game, you still cover, because you have still distribution happening in 20, 30, 40 different places. So that's mainly about the distribution strategy. You want to balance it. And I was speaking of IDFA back in 2019, 2020. You will basically look for the alike audience to your game. If you have mobile games, you'll be looking for the players who play games like Mobile Legends, like League of Legends, like FK Legends. You will target those users, and you will try to get a like audience to those users. This is no longer a case. So what do? You just buy users, right? So how many users actually playing those games? Well, it's kind of a bit blindly. So it is a little bit scary for the developers. This is when branding is becoming more and more important. Imagine if you are developing a game. Think about IP. You don't want to make a game today and the next game release. You want to create an IP, like Supercell creating the Clash IP. And after like 20 years, they will still making Clash games. People know it. That's your branding strategy. But branding is also expensive unless you diversify your portfolio with the platform that wants you actually promote you. You know, if you put your game on Oppo Store or Vivo Store, and the game is okay, it's a high quality, they will be giving you a homepage feature, sometimes for free. You just have to ask them, you know, and that gives you the visibility that slowly people might not download your game, might not even play your game, but they will see that game, and over time, you know, they will be like, okay, I saw it somewhere. I know this IP. You know, if you are a PC gamer and look at the Steam, you probably know a lot of games. You never play them, but you know them. So it's a very similar idea. So the balance strategy will be the key. Alternatively, there's progressive web application. Many people don't heard about it, but it's going to be a key for 2021 and moving forward. It's the cloud game catalogs. Basically, they help users to avoid Google Play or avoid iOS. You know, like some developers will put their game as a cloud, and the users basically use the HTML or using their browser to access the games without need of the stores. And that's where we will see more and more, especially very big company going that way, because they don't want to share 30%. You know, remember, 15% is only for 2% of the developers who have less than $1 million in revenue. So this is going to be a major function. And since I'm speaking about the big companies, think about Fortnite, Epic, right? Or Rise of Kingdom and Genshin Impact. Those two are fighting. They don't want to release the games on the big store in China. They're self-publishing them on their own website, you know. So they are slowly very big titles challenging the status quo, and you're going to see more and more of that. So why would those big games like Fortnite, Rise of Kingdom, and Genshin Impact still publish the game on those alternative stores? Back to branding, they still want that visibility there, even if it doesn't bring them money. So that's a balanced strategy, and I think that will be the key for you to actually working with the alternative stores. Next, it's all about the new markets, you know. So I put this slide back here because I want to emphasize something here. Well, China is around 40% of global mobile app spending in 2020, 40%. But if you think about it, Japan and Korea is twice as much as entire Europe in terms of revenue. So if you cannot publish your game in the China because of the ISBN issue, because you don't have a publisher, you can still publish in China, Japan, South Korea, but you can't. Why? Because you don't have a know-how. You ignore this market. You don't translate your game. You don't find a way to publish it twice as much as Europe. That's what you are missing out. And alternative stores can help you there. For example, like I mentioned, South Korea will be helping you with one store, for example. Japan and Korea also will be Line, for example. So those stores will help you access this market, and then you find the influences for the market, localization stuff, and suddenly your game could really grow in terms of the revenues. Asia Pacific alone has almost 85 billion revenues in 2020, and it's just increasing. So you are missing these markets. You know, everybody feel like, oh, why should I waste my time publishing game in Vietnam or Indonesia? Well, you should be wasting your time, because if you look at the Europe, which is here, it's only like 14 billion dollars, whereas Asia Pacific is like almost 6 times more than that. So that's the new market we are talking about. Also, in these regions, most Android devices, you'll be surprised, don't come with the Google Play, or the user doesn't use Google Play as the first choice. For instance, 600 million Huawei devices doesn't have a Google Play. Some countries, they don't have a Google Play. I mentioned Vietnam, for instance. You need to have a special permission. So it's not the first choice for the users. So that requires strategy thinking. Like, wow, I've been only focusing on the 2 stores. I'm missing out a lot, and actually you are. And lastly, alternative stores continue to grow. year by year, and it will be a major percentage of the market. It's already is actually. And just talk about numbers, so Aptoide, the company I'm from, so we have a Supercell, just two games, 100 million downloads just in one store. And think about repeating this into like 30 different stores. Sure, we can say, oh, Supercell is big, everybody knows it, it's true. But imagine you're getting a game on Google Play that has a 1,000 downloads, so a month, right? So it's a small game, like a niche game, nobody really can find it. You can probably do 10, 20 times more in terms of downloads from if you do your strategy well. So we not even need to talk about the top games. It's all about branding. Those big guys will work with the branding. Smaller indie developers, they will be trying to get promotion. And sure, maybe you will get a big feature from some store, and it's not going to be 100,000 downloads in one day as Google Play, but one feature could give you like 10, 20K downloads, which could be like maybe 5 months of your downloads from major store. So there's something to think about. And I think 3 major reasons, if you ask me why start today. Well, because it's not difficult to get the visibility. You just have to ask. You actually really have to just find the person who is responsible for the store, or work with your publisher and just ask them for the features. Because often alternative stores don't have enough content to promote, so they'd be happy to promote you. Sometimes you might not get a banner, but you will get the icon. And usually, honestly speaking, icon is much better performing than banner for most of the stores. In terms of the revenue potential, for today numbers, you can expect between 5 to 25% increase in the terms of the revenues within 2 years. So don't estimate like, oh, I released the game today and I will make money. No, it doesn't work that way. Even Google Play doesn't work that way. You need to set up effective baseline for yourself and say, okay, in 2 years I want to achieve that, and that's your goal. And at this moment it's 5 to 25. In 2 years it could be 10 to 40%, for example. This is hard to say, but as I mentioned, the alternative stores are improving. And then you have hundreds of millions of new users that just easy to reach. Southeast Asia alone is like more than Europe, entire Europe. India is almost twice as much as Europe. And then you might say, yeah, but I publish game in India on Google Play and I make 0 revenue. And the reason, and I tell you the reason why, because the game is not localized and it doesn't have a local payments, which will be solved if you're working with the local partners. And I'll have a case study, for example, for Indian market, and you will see that actually some of the big games are making major revenues from there. So I was talking about like why you should work with them, but then there are a lot of difficulties that we know to start working with the alternative store. If it's easy, everybody do it, but it's not, And usually people who do the difficult things are usually the one who success. People that always try to look for easy, good luck with that, because if it's easy, everybody can do it, then you will not success. So it is not easy. I must admit, working with the alternative stores, it's a lot of work. You have to find them one by one, and there are like tons of them. You have to go create an account. You have to sign the contract. So you have to talk to your legal team. You have to talk to your finance team, get the money approved, everything. Then you have to go to your technical team and integrate the SDK. Then you have to upload your, like, for example, APK to each and every store, and communicate, find the people like from the marketing or from business team, and communicate to the stores that, okay, we released the game on your store, can you give us some feature, or how to buy traffic from you? And whenever you update the game, you have to go through everything again. And that's a lot of hassle. I think this is the biggest challenge that the developers has. So sure, some developers say, okay, I don't want to work with everybody. I'm just going to work with Google Play, iOS, and let's say Huawei or Amazon. But you are missing out, and there are ways to solve this challenge, which I will speak in a sec. Then, secondly, the biggest issue for working with the platforms is just managing expectation communication and just managing those stores. Well, usually you have to do it. Each account is managed separately. So if you're working with Xiaomi, you have a Xiaomi account. If you're working with Huawei, you have a Huawei account. You have working with Vivo or Softonic, for example, from Europe, you always have a separate account. So whenever you upload APK, you have to do it manually. You have to go to the store, you have to upload it, then you have to test if it works. You have to test the payments. You have to test if the social logins like Facebook login, Google login, Twitter login, they work. Then you have to publish. It's a lot of hassle, right? Then once you publish, you have a new update. Well, you update it, so you think like there's an event in the game or there's a promotion. You want to do something special for your users, and you want to promote that event. So you have to prepare like advertising banners or marketing banners, but every store has a different requirements, different sizes. Or you cannot use this logo. You can use this logo. You cannot put text in the banner. You can put text in the banner, so on and so forth. So again, lots of management. Then maybe this one is even more complicated. Like each store, usually there are big companies. They will have a lot of contact windows. So one is for accounting. Okay, so every month you need to get your pay. One is from the legal team, business development. Some people from technical integration, Q&A, marketing if you want to do features, advertising if you want to buy CPI, so on and so forth. And then you are like, okay, my company has 3 people in it. How are we gonna manage it? It's hard. It is hard. And lastly, I think this is the key, is that if you forget to upload the app on time, let's say you release the new version on Google Play and you forgot to send an update to, let's say, Xiaomi, the chances are you might lose all the progress. First, the user will not be able to play your game because they're trying to update and they cannot update because there's no update in the store. So the user will be like, well, the game stopped working. And that's something we want to avoid. Or the Google will hijack the users and the user will automatically update from Google Play. And then those stores, like for example, we're talking about Xiaomi, okay, so Xiaomi, so they might not be happy about it, and then be like, okay, we gave you the features, we put so much effort on you, we gave you the users, and then you don't update again, and we lose everything. So there's no incentive for the store to promote your game ever again. So you might still keep the users, but you might destroy the relationship with the store. So there's a lot of things going on here, that managing communication. First time when we think, okay, the first major problem was integration, but it's actually not. The integration is the easy part. It's after the managing of the stores. So having this in mind, having these issues in mind, well, how can we success if my company is only 5 people? We barely have enough time for Google Play and iOS. How can we actually have a win with those major stores? Well, just repeat what you're doing with the Google Play. Why you success with Google Play? Why you success with iOS? Repeat the story. But there are ways to make it easier. And first thing is, well, technical integration. It doesn't have to be a showstopper. There are companies like Flexion, which is basically a third-party publisher based in UK, which work with developers to bring your game, and they will help you do integration. They will help you communicate with the stores. They will do all the things as a publisher does. Of course, you give up your revenue share, but you just give them the game, you give them an update, and you don't don't worry about anything. The most work is done for you. So this is something that especially a lot of mid-sized developer like to work with Flexion. Then you have a Catapult, which is something like a co-publishing platform that allows you for automatic integration. So basically, you go to Catapult, you update your APK, you actually automatically integrate the payment SDKs. You don't have to do anything. This is the technology that our company has, and then you help you to submit the game to major stores automatically. And the team also have the like people that will communicate with the stores to give you the features, marketing, stuff like this. However, it gives you the full flexibility. The meaning is that whereas if you're working with the publisher, you have to give them the rights to all the stores. Here, if you're, for example, working with Huawei, then you just click, okay, you don't publish to Huawei, but publish everything else. And that offers you this type of the flexibility. And then you have a Unity distribution portal, which is basically self-distribution. So you integrate only one SDK, and then you click it and publish to the stores. However, the difference between Catapult and Unity is that here you have to do most work by yourself. So you have to set up multiple accounts. You have to talk to the different stores separately, billing, finance, legal, stuff like this. You do it on your side. Whereas with the Catapult, it's only one account and one contact, actually, person. So the Catapult people will do the publishing for you. So that's why it's something like called co-publishing. So there are different ways. And when you're researching alternative stores, you can choose any. For example, if you choose Flexion, well, Flexion will still work with Catapult, because we are partners. So it doesn't matter at the end of the day if you choose them. Same thing with the Unity. You will work with the Unity, and you will still probably work with the Catapult, because not all the stores are like available on Unity. Not all the stores are available Catapult, so it makes sense. But do your own research, and you will understand which solution is best for you. But speaking of that, I just want to demonstrate how the Catapult work. It's basically any of the game that is released on the Catapult, and all those games are actually our partners. They just do automatic integration for one time, and then every time they upload the game on Google Play, it will automatically integrate with us, automatically distribute, and then our business people will talk to the source for additional traffic. So this is how the Catapult work, and it's very similar how Flexion also work, but Flexion is more manual, so it's more like a publishing. So they also might give you incentive for some advertising, stuff like that. And I think, sorry for here, it's a lot of text, but I will go one by one. And it's also very important about attitude and expectation. So, when you're working with the stores, I noticed that a lot of developers have some crazy expectation about alternative stores. They feel like, okay, if I do the integration, everything, I'm gonna get millions of dollars. It doesn't work that way. There's no magic way. Imagine this: if you release the game on Google Play and iOS, and if you put it there, nothing going to happen. I mean, everybody knows that you have to work hard to get your game successful, and there's no magic way with the alternative stores. You have to work. So how to do it? So major stores is basically Google Play and iOS. This is what you are doing currently. You're trying to build the relationship and maintain the relationship with Google and Apple. You're always trying to write them emails. You tell them what's your business plan for this game, how you're going to promote it, what's the events, how much budget you prepare for the game, so on and so forth. With alternative stores, almost no developer do it. They just put it in the game and expect magic. And if the developer doesn't bring you success, the developers often just give bad attitude and they like destroy the relationship. You shouldn't be destroying, because you just should be like treating them as normal, because it's a long term. You're looking at the 2 years business plan. That your expectation today, it's not to make money. It's 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, build the brand around you and start to generating quite good revenues. So try to maintain a relationship with the stores if you can. Secondly, when you're working with the Google Play or Apple, you pretty much talk to your team internally. So you talk with your BD team, you talk with your technical team, and everybody knows that it requires planning long term. And then your team thinking, okay, what should I do on Google to get better retention, to improve in the purchases, to improve conversion rates on store? Then why shouldn't you do the same thing on the alternative stores? You should. So that's the attitude, like treat those stores as if this is Google Play, then you will see the results. Thirdly, on the major stores, that you need to do the user acquisition, media buy, influencers, search optimization, so on and so forth. You have to buy traffic, talk to the stores, talk to alternative stores and ask them, do they offer paid user acquisition? Even though they are willing to give you free features, they cannot give you free features all the time. They still have other games to promote. Or if you might not get enough traffic that you expect. Well, but you can buy the traffic directly from them. And usually you'll be surprised how low the prices can be because you are buying directly from the source. You are buying directly from the phone manufacturers, right? You're not buying from middle agents or agencies or anything. For instance, Facebook is an agency. It's a huge agency, but it's still an agency. They're still getting the traffic from someone else. So you're getting from the source. So it could be, the prices could be really, really reasonable. And then you do your KPI and you're doing your ROI study, see if it makes sense. Lastly, when you're working with the major stores, you really know that you need to put efforts. Without efforts, you will not success. But with alternative stores, you expect you will success, and you shouldn't. You should feel that without any efforts, you're not going to success anywhere. So unless you have another PUBG type of game, which is highly unlikely, we need to work. We need to do our hard working. And sometimes it's not that hard, but we need to put the attitude, the right attitude to those stores. And that's common with the users. Everybody wants more users. So if you're working for the alternative stores, and that's how actually we work in the Catapult. One part is that we distribute with the stores. We asking them for features. We promote. We sometimes update the games on time. Stuff like that. But we're also working with the influencers. You should work with influencers when you have a chance. And for example, you might not be able to make a very big promotion for all your users in the world because it will be too costly. But you can ask, for example, one of the alternative stores, guys, are you willing to give up your revenue share? And we do promotion. And they are willing to do it. They are often willing to give up the revenue share to do something bigger. And then you can go to influencers and say, okay, if you buy the next week from Aptoide, for example, you get 30% bonus on your purchases, and that increase your sales without hijacking your profits. And at the same time, it gives you visibility to potential new users. And then lastly, you're buying the traffic, but not necessarily funneling the traffic to the Google Play or iOS, but you're funneling this traffic to alternative stores or buying directly from the OEMs, and those users will go to your game. So that's it. That's the presentation. I know we have a couple more minutes, so I'll be happy to talk about some case studies just to give you guys some idea what to expect. And I will go really quickly. We have about 6 minutes, so let's do it. So first case study is the IGG Lords Mobile. It's a very big game. Everybody probably know if you're playing the strategy game. It's a powerful title, and with Catapult, we approaching 100 million US per year revenues. So that's whenever I show this slide, people are like shocked, like they thinking like, okay, if I working with if I have a big game, I will expect maybe 100K to 100K per year. No, that's 100 million revenues. That's could be expectation if you are at the top of the top game, and it's just growing rapidly. But at the same time, we've been talking about the expectation, right? And notice here what's happening here, that for a long time the revenues were very, very flat. It takes time. It takes time and effort, and the very big developers, they know that, and they're already doing that. And usually, it's like stock market. If the big guys, they already in the market before you notice, and by the time you notice, it's too late. So if the big guys already doing this, you should be doing that too, because they're on something. And numbers are good, so the developers are happy, and they give us second biggest game because it's the proof of concept that it really, really work. Secondly, it doesn't really cannibalize the revenues for the developer. If you can notice here, great company, AppMagic, by the way, Data Magic, is you notice the revenues are quite stable since we start pushing the game really, really well. Actually the revenues, all the downloads didn't change on Google Play. Recently, there was a spike in the revenues on Google Play, but it was because of the new monetization strategy for the game. 25% increase in revenue for mobile in 24 months. That's the case study, and around 220K US dollars in revenue, which developer is able to see in real time. You make a purchase, you see the revenue. So it's a full transparency. A lot of the stores offer this. And for the Catapult, if you're working with Catapult, you get actually funds available right away. So you don't have to wait like next month, 2 months later, 6 months. You get the funds whenever you request them. So you just go to the dashboard, click withdraw, and you get the money in your account within like a week or so. So that's very big when we're talking about like working with the partners like Flexion or Catapult. Not so much with the Unity, because with Unity it's more like you're working with the stores directly. It's only integration process established. But if you're working with the Flexion, for example, with the Catapult, you're now working with 50 different accounts. Everything going through one account. So all the billings and legal is become easier. So that's the expectation. Immediately withdrawal if you prefer the way. Secondly, it's a Mobile Legend. It's the biggest mobile game for mobile phones, and we did really good. We released the game in December, and in January the developer come to us and say they already have a 250,000 DAU in the first month, in the 30 days. So it's really, really good. I don't know if you can see that, but we have an article, for example, of the Mobile Legend, and just a Game of the Week article is almost 15 million views when I was making this presentation. So people see it. People see that it's the branding and game. And the expectation for the title is not as big as Lords Mobile, but we still expect 30 million per year. So how? By heavily featuring the game on all over the stores, and working with over 100 different influencers, creating the videos, noise, doing some promotion, stuff like that. So we've been talking about very two big titles, but let's say you have a great title, but it's old title, like Clash of Kings. It's a 7-8 years old title, what can you still give a new life to the game? And the answer is yes, you can. In the first 8 months, we increased the revenues of Clash of Kings by 10%. And how? By just promoting the game, because all titles like this usually have very difficulty to getting any type of features on Google Play or iOS. They're just too old, and because of that, they're not getting that much organic installs. So by doing this promotion, we are able to get 300% more downloads on like Xiaomi, Oppo, Vivo, Softonic, Cafe Bazaar, so on and so forth, than Google Play. So that's huge. That's really huge. and the developer was happy, and they just published all the games on the Catapult, because this is, I think, this is the biggest proof. If you publish one game, it doesn't work well, why would you publish another game? You just don't waste your time. But it's not the case. But what if you don't have a big title? Like a lot of people ask me, well, those are great, but everybody knows them. You just publish a game, you give them feature, and the money will come. Yeah, well, what about Z-Day or Legacy of Discord? Well, for every major game, we prepare a business plan. We prepare like, okay, we want to achieve X amount of revenue by given month. And for example, for Z-Day, we are 4 months ahead of our schedule. So when we are in the February, well, we already outperform ourselves. But you notice here, 3 months, no revenue. Remember the Lord's Mobile case? 8 months, no revenue, very, very small. Again, it takes time. So if you publish the game today, don't expect the money will come. You have to work with those stores, because sometimes it might take weeks to publish on the store. Sometimes it might take some time to get the stores to actually understand, oh, your game will do this, or it is strategy, because they're not really focused on the gaming. So if you're looking for sometimes you publish a game on some store, they don't even know what type of game it is. So it takes some time, but eventually you start getting the right users, and it's just starting to grow your revenues. And the same thing with Legacy of Discord. Not a big game, but within the first year, they improved their revenue by additional 15% compared to the major stores. So that's it. I hope you guys enjoy it. If you have any questions and needs, please feel free to ask now.
Thank you, Maciej. It was really very interesting, and sometimes it sounded really fantastic what you described. I want to use my position as a moderator and ask the first question. Actually, you have mentioned the number of platforms. Do you include Amazon? Since it's still an Android inside, do you distribute to Amazon?
It's a good question. So with Amazon, I believe Flexion distribute to Amazon, and we don't work with them yet, but we have a call with them tomorrow. So hopefully things change.
Great.
But actually, Amazon is on something, because as you noticed, the Windows 11 announcement that Amazon will be the first store to working with the Windows 11 natively. And I think it just makes sense. We looking to work with them because they need the content. We have the content. It's a perfect fit. Yeah,
absolutely. Amazon is fantastic with their audience. It's not very big, but its quality is really higher than Apple's audience even. So it's worth including them. And one more question. You have mentioned several times about featuring, that you work, you help, you support with featuring. Could you please tell a couple of words more? How does it work? When I work with you, how do you help with featuring?
Okay, that's a good question. I will give you the example from the Mobile Legend that we're working with them. So what they do is they give us a plan of what they plan to do for entire year. So they very, very professional. They set up the plan, and it's the plan not just for us but for all the stores. So in July we will have those new heroes or new skins or stuff like this, and they know exactly what they plan to do. And by having this information, a couple days in advance, we will go to ask them, hey, do you guys have a new update to the game? Can you give us the APK so we can publish in advance? And they usually send to us with the marketing material, like banners, stuff like this. And they will say, okay, this promotion is only open for those markets. And by giving us those couple days in advance, it's enough for us to go to the stores and promote it. Now, the store have a choice. we will feature it or we don't. But if they don't feature it, at least for the Catapult, we have an option to buy advertising during the promotion. So if you are important partner to us, we actually invest in a CPI, and this is for free for developer. So we usually give like 10 to 15% of GMV back to the advertisements, to just to guarantee that the game's still showing up when it needs to be shown. Yeah.
Thank you. So it sounds like a one-window solution where if I work with you, I can also involve extra money and buy some advertisement from you, right?
Not necessarily from us. You can go directly to the stores and buy it, but we always have a budget to give some. So like, let's say, okay, you have a game, maybe we give $1,000 the test money to spend, let's say, on Xiaomi store, and if the ROI is good, maybe we can talk to you. Okay, do you want us to spend, or you want to spend more by yourself? And if you do, and you direct the traffic back to the Catapult version, we give you rebates on, let's say, user acquisition or the revenue shares or whatever. So this is a way to communicate, but it's all about expectation, because if you're coming to us, you cannot expect like huge revenues at the same time in the first day. Even if you release on the Huawei or Amazon, it's not going to be a case. Even if they give you the feature, it might not move the needle, because imagine how often do you go on Google Play as a normal user? You don't. Once a week maybe, right? Just browse around, but you don't really check Google Play that often. Now, how often would you go to like Xiaomi store? Maybe once a month. So sometimes even when they give you the feature, a lot of users won't see it. So you have to keep pushing. Don't give up. Then you have a 3 to 6 months window. You will get the users. And you will have start making. And once you start it's like a snowball effect. Once you start making revenue, then it's just expanding really, really quick. And then once the stores see, oh, this game started making some revenue, they're going to push you even harder.
Thank you so much. Is there any analytical statistic system you would recommend to guys who work with you to implement on their builds, the system you prefer?
So actually, no. It's well, you have a dashboard on the Catapult. If you're working with Unity, you have a dashboard there. If you're working with Flexion, you have a dashboard as well there. But if you're working with any of the analytics platform, for example, Adjust, Tianjin, Kochava, AppsFlyer, you can work with them. You can set up links, and you give the links to your publisher or to us, and you can able to track the traffic from each store.
Thank you. Sounds really amazing. Okay. In overall, how many stores do we have launched at the moment?
On Aptoide, Catapult, around 25.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and that's doesn't include China. We don't do China, So it's all like outside China stores.
So do you plan to work in China?
We don't. This is something that we might offer some type of co-publishing in the future, but we don't. It's too much hassle for the legal, and you need to be a Chinese company to get the license to publish the games. So we have this issues. However, there are companies, publisher that will, they look in the often alternative stores and be like, okay, those games are great, and they will be reaching out. Sometimes we even connect you to them.
Great. And what about Korea and Japan?
Oh, definitely. Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Just I think 2 weeks ago we announced the cooperation with one store in Korea. So definitely, yeah.
Sounds really great. Okay, let me check, please. Do we have more questions? Seems like we took all of them. Thank you so much for your time. It's really awesome. If one day I'll release my game, I'll be definitely going to you.
You know where to look for.
Thank you
Thanks,
so much.
Alex. It was nice meeting you, and I hope it was helpful to everybody. And if you guys need, just feel free to reach me on LinkedIn.